This is your macroeconomics video on structural unemployment. The second type of unemployment we're going to talk about is more problematic, and that is structural unemployment. This is created when there are fewer jobs than workers who are qualified for that type of work. So this creates a problem because there are lots of workers and only a few jobs. And then all of those workers who are skilled and experienced and maybe have the right educational opportunities for those jobs, there just aren't any employment opportunities for them. So this is usually really long-term and problematic because what happens in order to fix this unemployment, we have to retrain all of those workers in some new area in which there are jobs that are needed. So if you go to school to become an electrician and then it turns out there are no electrician jobs, now you have to go back to school to do something else, to train to be a nurse or a coder, because that's where the jobs are at today. So this is very problematic, it's very long term, and it's very expensive to change. This is typically caused by what's referred to as sectoral shifts. Sectors or types or industries of the economy change and the compositions of different types of jobs that are available change. So manufacturing jobs are going away in the United States and they've been lowering the amount of jobs available for 50 or 70 years now. But we do have lots of jobs available in high tech, in coding, computer software and engineering, also healthcare, doctors, nurses, the people who are in healthcare management and things like that are in high need. But how do you train a laid off auto worker to become a nurse? That's wildly expensive. So even though we have, many people who spent most of their lifetime working in manufacturing jobs, shift line, assembly line worker type jobs, they might not necessarily be trained, nor might they be able to or want to retrain for some of the jobs that are actually available now. And even if they did, it's very expensive. And who pays for that? The employee? They might not have enough money because they're unemployed, so they might not be able to pay for a new college education. So these types of shifts or sectoral shifts displace workers. Sectoral shifts can also happen in geography. So once Detroit was one of the largest cities in the country, and after the last Great Recession, they lost a significant amount of job opportunities and people left Detroit. And because of that, there has been significant changes in the types of jobs available in Detroit since auto manufacturing, which had been one of their major employment areas, has kind of left the state. So a lot of times structural unemployment is caused by two things. Number one, technology. Technology is getting better. And if a robot or an assembly line can do your job faster, better than you, then you're going to be replaced by a robot. And unfortunately, robots do not need to take lunch breaks. They do not need to get paid overtime. So as technology replaces what was assembly line workers' jobs, there's not as many needed roles for those types of workers. The second one is outsourcing. If a foreign worker can do your job just as well, if not better, and they're willing to do it for a lower amount of pay, then your job is probably going to be outsourced to a foreign country, and it's probably not going to come back, even if some type of tax structure or the government does something to encourage those jobs to come back. One of the reasons why people manufacture American goods in American companies overseas is that not only is the labor cheaper, but over time, for 50 or 100 years, people have been making clothing and textiles in East Asian countries. And so now there's a significant amount of the population there that's highly trained. They're extremely fast and efficient at that type of work. Could Americans become efficient at making textiles? They could, but currently we don't have the size of the employee base in that particular type of work the way that some other countries might. So we're going to look at some charts and graphs. So here's the first one. This shows the U.S. unemployment rate since 1945 all the way up to 2020. The shaded areas are recessions, and you even see in 2020 the pandemic-related recession. On your guided notes, go ahead and tell us what is one of the main themes you see if you had to summarize the data. And then you can point out any number of things for your details. Here's your next chart. This one says race and gender disparities in unemployment and job type among formerly incarcerated people who are active in the labor market. So these are all surveys of people who were formerly in jail or prison, and now that they're out, they're active in the labor market. So this says whether they are unemployed, full-time work, part-time, or occasional work. Now, even people who have a record, of course, it's very difficult to find a job if you have a criminal record. But even if all of these people have records, it's still white workers, both men and women, are far more likely to be able to find full-time work compared to Black and Hispanic workers.